Okay, so let me switch off my WhatsApp. So actually message. Okay, so for the basics, I want to start with the data types. So as we had discussed yesterday, the types of data. So in programming languages, the various types of data what we have are, so first is a character. You're there with me, right? Aryan? Okay. So character, the voice is echoing. There's some parallel machine on because I hear echo in background. Okay. Yeah, no, now it's all right. So these are the four building blocks of your programming languages. So these are called as data types. So types of data you can call it. These are mutual to any of the programming languages we will learn. Okay. So what does a character store? A character stores any keystroke on the keyboard enclosed within a single code. So if I give anything within a single code, that is termed as a character. So if I want to give A, I'll have to give A within a single code. So this will be a character. Okay. So if I want to give at the rate, so is this a character? Yes, this becomes a character. So even if I give a number in a single quote, that also becomes a character. And then we have some escape characters. So if you want to feed a new line, so you have slash n. This is one single character because it is given in a single quote. So this will feed a new line. What will this do? Add a new line. If you want to give a space, then we have slash e. Okay. Add space or a tab you can say. So like this, you have a character data type. Now if you are starting with C programming, character has a shortcut of percentage %C. So how do you identify a character? What is the shortcut for it? Percentage %C, and it occupies 1 byte of memory. What is the size of a character? 1 byte. One character, 1 byte. Okay, so we can do it like this. So we can take shortcut outside and size also outside. So because for each data type we will be having these. For each type we will be having a, okay. And what does it store? What does it hold? And few examples. So we'll follow this pattern for all the types. Okay. So for each type we will be having these four categories. Now what does an integer hold then? It holds non-decimal numbers. It holds non-decimal numbers, and few languages also gives a restriction, and it is both positive and negative. Okay, it It will hold positive as well as negative, both. So positive numbers as well as negative numbers. And few languages give a restriction that it can store from negative 32,768 to positive 32,767. So if a number is a non-decimal number and within this range, then it is classified as an integer. Okay. And so if I were to store, let's say 37, so is this an integer? What all? So if I, okay, now if I tell you to store your age, which of the, okay, now let's come to 1000, is it integer? 30,000, is it an integer? All okay. Minus 100, is it an integer? So this is the example of integer, and the shortcut for integer is percentage d. What is the shortcut? And it takes size of 2 bytes. Varies from languages to language. So in C it takes size of 2 bytes. Then float is used to store decimal numbers. If you want to store decimal number, then you can use a float. Okay. Yes, I'm there. So decimal numbers, okay, same positive and negative. And so if I want to store 37.5, 3.14, 6.98, and the range of this is in millions, okay, rather billions you can say the range. So it has a very big range, the floating point numbers, and it has a shortcut of percentage, and size is 4 bytes. Size is 4 bytes. One float will store. So to store 37.5, I will require 4 bytes of memory. Okay. Then does the boolean store? Any idea? What does the boolean store? Any idea? True and false. It will store only two values, either true or false. That's also 0 or 1. Okay, so 1 and 0. That's all. There won't be any third value in a boolean. Okay, so it has only two outputs, so it can only store true and false. Apart from that, nothing. And it is having a shortcut called percentage b, and it has size of 2 bytes. So these are the 4 primary data types. Then if a number is outside this range, so let's say I want to store 40,000, you know what to do? So the elder brother of int is long. Who is he? So long can store non-decimal numbers but of a higher range, okay? And long shortcut is percentage LD, long integer, okay? And long size is 4 bytes. Long size is 4 bytes. So like this, if your number goes out of range, then you can use your long. Okay. And similarly, if you are having a bigger precision number with decimals, so for that you can use double. You can use double. Okay. So the elder brother of float is, okay. So here the precision value will increase. So if this could have, if long takes, the float takes a precision value of 37.12345 let's say, then double can have even a more precision. Double can take 37.1234567, a higher precision number. Getting it? The accuracy of the decimal can be even more. And the shortcut for double will be what? Any guesses? LF. Percentage L means a bigger number, right? And LF, a bigger float. LD means a bigger integer, okay? And the size for that is 8 bytes. How many bytes? So if you take a double, the memory will increase compared to a float. So these are your 6 basic data types, okay? Now the reason why we study data types is you should now be able to categorize them. So if I, let's say, are you fond of cricket? Watch cricket, play cricket. Okay, so now I will make I'll have 4 quadrants here. I will have 4 quadrants over here, and in each quadrant I will put, so here I will put batsman, and here I will say bowler, and here I will say India, and here I will say Australia. Okay, so now, and these are my 5 quadrants. So quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, or 4 for that matter. And okay, so I have these 4 quadrants. So now I will give you a player's name. I want you to put it in the proper quadrant. Where will you rope in Bumrah? Which quadrant? So which? Yeah, this will go in the second quadrant, right? Okay, so if I have to say Steven Smith, where will this chap go? So 4. If I have to say Maxwell, let's leave out all-rounders. So leave out all-rounders. There's no all-rounder quadrant. Okay, then let's say Labuschagne. Where will you put this chap? Bowling. Labuschagne is also a Australian batsman. Okay, okay. Warner. Where will you put Warner? Okay. Where will you put Surya Kumar Yadav? Ordered. So similarly now, I want you to put these in the proper quadrants. Okay. I'll, so now similar to this, we will have, like you have to, you know genre, what is genre? The term we use to describe the category of movie, in which category this movie falls. So we have some typical types of genres, right? Comedy is a genre, then sci-fi, horror. So if I give you a movie name and I ask you to fit it into a genre, okay, so if I say none, where will this go to? This will go in horror. Okay. If I say Interstellar, where will this go to? Scientific fiction, right? So like this, like this, no, we have to categorize and put the stuff into the correct data type. So if I say I want to store the age of an individual, if I want to store the age of a person, so which type of data will that age be? Huh? Integer, right? Because age will be non-decimal number between the range of this, right? So I can say age comes over here. Similarly, if I'm going to the gym and the first thing I do is when I enter the gym, I check my weight on a daily basis. So an electronic weighing scale shows my weight. If I want to store that value, what will I use for that? So weight will use float. Very good. And if I want to store my marks of a subject, let's say how much I scored in mathematics in 12th standard, math marks, per individual subject marks, individual subjects mark reflected on your 12th standard mark sheet. That was a non-decimal number, no? Marks of individual subject. I'm not talking about the percentage. The mark sheet, 12th standard, 10th standard mark sheet which we got, in that mark sheet, the maths marks or any subject marks, what type of data is that? Non-decimal, right? Int only, right? It will be in int, right? Okay, if I say HSC percentage, this this will come in, then it's float. Okay. Now if I say Virat Kohli is per inning, okay, one inning score. How many runs Virat has scored in a single inning? Okay. And now if I say Virat Kohli's career score, Virat Kohli is career runs scored. How many runs he has scored and across all formats. Across all formats, including test, including one day, including T20. Yes, because it will cross 30,000, right? So you should know which. So the reds one are called as variables. The red ones are called as C. Black ones which I wrote on top, these are called as data type. What are these called as? What is character? What is integer? What is long? What is float? What is double? And boolean. These are all data types. And the reds are the variables. They are called as what? So if in a program we have to store any data, we have to make a variable to store that data. But to make the variable, we should know its type. Okay? Okay, if I want to store the gender of a person, whether he is a male or female, so if I want to store that, then character, this is going character. Okay? Okay, will it rain today? If I want to store that, so that will come in a boolean, right? So now you know whatever data, so you have to take a variable of the appropriate data type. Okay, so now if I just do a simple program to illustrate that, if I want to calculate simple interest, what I want to calculate? So what's the formula for simple interest? Yeah, so if I want to write that program, So which language should we start with? Should we start with C programming? Okay, so in C programming, what are the header files we include? stdio. Okay, that's sufficient as of now. So let's write the main function. And now in the main function, how many variables do I need? I require three variables, right? To store the principal, to store the number of years, to store the rate of interest. So for each variable, let's now make the variable. So your principal will be of what type? Principal will be of what type? What data type? You there? You there, Aryan? Yeah, so principal will be of what type? Principal will be of what type? Type. Will it be a character, integer, float, double, boolean? Character. I'll be principal means the amount you are investing in the bank. That is the principal. Okay, this principal. This principal. Integer. Why can't you invest more than 32,000? You invest more than 30,000. Long integer. Can't the principal be in decimal? Okay, let's not keep decimal. Okay, okay, long integer. Okay. So this is the type and this is the variable. Now the time or number of years. Why can't you put for 7.5 years or 8.5 years or 9.5 years the money? So let's keep it float. So this is called as business that is called as business knowledge, domain knowledge. So let's say if a sports company hires you as their analyst, you've seen IPL teams, they carry a technician with them, which who gives them the data that in the previous match where did the opponent bowler, what line he was pitching the ball, you know all the historical data he gives to the batsmen and the bowlers. So they carry a person with them. That person should have knowledge of cricket, right? If that person who is traveling with the team, the technician, the expert, he is not having any domain knowledge, so he can't work with the team, correct? So even though if he is a good software engineer, in which stream he is working, he should have knowledge of that. So if he is working for a pharmaceutical company, he should have idea of the pharmaceutical works. If he is working for a, let's say, media company, he should know how the media company works. So similarly, if we are banking software, we should think like a banker. So number of years can be, yeah, chances that it can be in a float. Yeah, and then what next was rate of interest, also be in float. Okay, and whenever you name a variable, give a sensible name to the variable. I could have given ABC also. Okay. So now rate of interest. So I could have given over here A, but this A would not make any sense, right? Because the variable name should be sensible, should be readable. So, and you cannot give space in a variable name. So if you are giving number of years, you have to give a underscore to separate the words. So there are few rules of naming a variable. You cannot start a variable with a digit. Variable has to start with a character. Has to start with a any letters. Capital, small will also do, but it is preferred that we use small letters. And variable cannot start with a digit, variable cannot have spaces. These are some. It can start with underscore. Yes, it can start with underscore. No, yes. So now rate of interest we are declaring this as float, right? Okay. So now this is what you have to learn. Once you declare the variables, now these variables have been allotted memory. So you have to think them as containers. So always think of variables as containers. So if you go to the kitchen, you will see various containers. So you will see a container which has salt, you will see a container which has sugar, you will see a container which has tea leaves, you will see a container which has rice. Rice might be a bigger container because it is consumed. Okay, and you might also have a container which says these spices. So spices are consumed comparatively lesser. If I say have a spice called cardamom, the container which is holding the cardamom and the container which is holding the salt, will it be of the same size? Okay, and the container which is holding the rice, will it be of the same size of salt? So these jars or the containers, you can think of them as your variables. Okay, and you will see that the jars are labeled, right? So if in the rice jar I will always put rice, correct? So initially I would consume basmati or India Gate basmati rice. Okay, initially I would consume this. Okay, but then we tried and this quality of this brand is deteriorating and they are not giving good quality nowadays. So I will change my brand, right? I will go to some other brand, okay, XYZ brand. But that container will always have rice in it, irrespective of the brand. Will it happen that the rice container is over and in this I put the wheat flour? Will this happen? This will not happen. If this container is empty, whenever it will be top up, it will always be done with the brand with the top with this with the label which is no, the yeah, we cannot change the commodity, we can change the brand. So if we have a jar named salt and earlier we were using Tata salt, let's say, but then now Tata is not giving good quality and we want to change the salt. Okay, let's say then we switch to Patanjali salt. So we can always change the brand, but we cannot change the food in that jar. That still has to be a salt, correct? So these similarly these variables, no. Okay, now how many variables do I have? So think of the variable as your jar. So I have a principal which is a long integer. Then I have a what is this? Number of years, and I have rate of interest, right? So think of them as your jars. So which is this jar named as principal amount, correct? Second is number of years, there, and third is rate of interest. Yes, Aryan, you there? So now you can think of these three variables as three containers. So principal, number of years, and rate of interest, right? So think of each of your variables. See, this is your data type, correct? And this is the variable. So how many variables am I having? So think of each variable as a container. This is the cheat code. If you understand this concept, programming is very easy. So now how many containers do I have? And each container is labeled with the type. So the label is the type. So principal is a what type? Long int. Okay. Yeah, long int, right. Number of years? Number of years is labeled as float, both rest two are float, right? So this is the label on the container, float, float. Now, can I put 1000 in principle? Is this possible? Can I put 1000 over here? Is this satisfying the label? It is, right? So, okay, so now I started with 1000. Now, can I put 1200 also? So, what happens is I'll have to remove the 1000. So, 1000 is removed, and then instead of 1000, I'm putting 1200. So, I can put any data, but the type should be what this jar has labeled over here. Can I put over here A? No, why? Because the jar says label long int and you're putting a character will not be permissible, right? Okay, so now can I put a 10.5 over here? Can I put a 7.75 over here? So now why are these called variables? Because this value keeps on changing. As the program progresses, this value keeps on changing. This 7.75 will become 5.55. But is it permissible to store 5.55 in rate of interest? Yes, 5.5 is the float. So that's why it is called as variable, because the value will keep on changing. Okay. One is variable, other is called constant. What is constant? Yes, in real world, where would you think we use constant? See, your blood group is constant. You cannot change that. Then your thumb impression is constant. Gravity pi value is constant 3.14. Gravity is constant. So those values which you cannot change, even if you think of changing, you can still cannot change. So if someone thinks of changing his blood group, he cannot change his blood group. He cannot change his thumb impression. So those values which you cannot change at all, those are called as constants. And the values which you can change are called as variables. Are called as variables. So principal, number of years and rate of interest are constant or variables. Variables. So now if I say principal is 1000, then later on if I say principal is 1200, is it possible? Yes, because principal is a, it's a variable, right? Because the value can keep on changing, but it has to follow that rule that if it is changing, the type cannot change. I cannot do this. Is this permissible that I do principal equals to at the rate? This is not permissible, right? This you cannot change the type of the data can change, but what type you have given while creating that variable, you have to follow that same type. Okay. Then we also have type casting. What we have? You there? Okay. See, there's a term. This is the road. So this was the old breadth of the road. The road was very narrow. So, and now the old road has been widened. This is a new road. So what has happened over here? Narrowing or widening? This was the old width of the road, and now the width of the road has become this big. So what has happened over here? The road has become narrow or wide? So this is called as widening, right? So, and similarly, we take the reverse example. The road was this, the Then the metro work started and the metro columns had to be erected, and then the metro column ate up into the space, and now the road has become this width. Now what happened over here? It has narrowing, right? So now if we have integer, what is the size of integer? And then that integer becomes a float. What has that happened? So it has become widening, right? So a wider type can always support a narrower type also, but not vice versa. So like in a float, can I put 10? 10 is an integer, correct? 10 is an integer, right? We'll join the same meeting room again. The meeting is coming to an end, Aryan. Join the same meeting room again. Meeting gets disconnected. On the same meeting room, okay? Okay, so widening is allowed. Widening is what? So this jar is of what type? And what am I storing in it? So wide, it is widening, right? So this is always permissible. This is always. So my question, see, if two cars could have passed parallelly over here, how many cars? Can these two cars still pass parallelly over here? Yes, right? So there is no problem. So if I have a wider variable, it can accommodate all the narrowed types also, but not vice versa, but not. So if I had a jar which was labeled as integer, okay, so can I store in it 10? I can store it in it, 10 in it, right? But can I store in it 10.5? No, because I'm narrowing, right? Narrowing is not possible, correct? So you have to just remember. So if I have a variable which is marked as float, I can still store int in it, correct? So now once I have declared the variables over here, now once I declare the variable in C, C puts garbage values in them. What does C put in them? C will put any random number garbage value in the variable. So it will have any random value. So see, this float will have any random floating point value. Any. This is called as garbage value. Similarly, number of years will have any random value, and rate of interest will also have any random value. Okay. So now if I display them, it will display me the random values. What I do is I sanitize them. I tell them remove all the random value and put my sensible values. That is called as initialization. That is called as what? This is called as variable declaration. This is called as, so I've just declared the variables. When I declare the variable, it has garbage value in them. Then to make sensible values, now I will put I will say principal equals to 10,000. Number of years equals to 5.5, and rate of interest equals to 7.5. So now what happens is this, once I do this, so this image should go in your mind. So this garbage will be removed. The variable at a time can hold only one single value, can hold only. So these jars at a time can hold only one single brand of rice, one single brand of tea leaves, right? At any given point of time. So if I am using India Gate, then I am using India Gate in that month. Then next month I will replace India Gate with another brand. Correct? So earlier it had garbage value. Now those values are removed. So variable in its entire life cycle at any given point of time will have only one single value. It's like a mobile phone. So sir, I have changed around 10 mobile phones in my life till now, but at any particular point of time I had one single phone only. Correct? So now what is the value of principal? 10,000. And what is the value of number of years? Point, let's check it. 5.5 and 7.5, right? So now these are the values. Now I want to calculate the simple interest also. So I take one more variable, simple interest. Now what type will this be? This will also be a float. So once I do this, what happens is one more jar is created in memory. One more jar in memory is created. And what is the name of that jar? And the label is put on the type. So now, so this is called as simple interest. And what is it holding currently? Garbage value. Okay. This value varies from language to language. Java stores 0. Python also stores 0. So C stores garbage value. So it has now some garbage value in it. Now I want to put sensible value. So I put the formula now. So I put the formula. What is the formula? Principal multiplied by number of years multiplied by rate of interest, the whole numerator divided by 100. So the calculations take place on the RHS, and whatever is the answer gets stored on the variable in the LHS. Okay. So calculations takes place on the RHS. Once this is evaluated, whatever answer comes is stored in the variable on the LHS. So now what is the answer? So if I take a calculator and calculate, so 1000, 10,000 multiplied by 5.5 multiplied by 7.5 divided by 100. What is the answer? 4125. What is the answer? You see my calculator screen? So 4125 will be stored in which variable? 4125 will be stored in which variable? After the evaluation, it gets stored in this evaluates to 4125, right? The RHS is evaluated, the answer is 4125. That answer gets stored in the variable on the LHS. So what is the variable? So what is simple interest hold now? The garbage will be removed. Can it hold both the values together, garbage and 4125? It will hold only one value at a time. So if it is holding garbage, it cannot hold any other value. So to hold other value, the garbage has to be removed. Garbage is removed, and now this is what the simple interest has. And now if I want to display the values, how will I display them? In C we have printf. And if I want to show the principal amount is, so I will say the principal is colon percentage LD, right? Shortcut principal, right? So this becomes the placeholder. This percentage LD becomes the placeholder, and this variable value will be substituted over there. So what will be the output? The principal is 10,000, correct? And I want to add on a new line, so I will say ln, correct? And similarly, if I want to display the number of years, I will say, so I'll just new line, number of years is percentage f. That will be which variable? Number. And similarly, if I want to display the rate of interest, I will say rate of interest is percentage f and rate of interest. And if I want to display simple interest, then I will say interest is percentage f and simple. Okay. Now let's just copy this and an online compiler will try to run this code. Let me open an online compiler. So you can just search for C online compiler and take this GDB one. Okay, and you just paste that code over here and you run that code and see if it runs successfully or it is throwing up any error. Okay, shouldn't take this much time to compile. You can stop it, rerun it. Okay, got it? Okay, now what is the decimal precision over here? How many digits? If you want to display only 2 digits in decimal, so you can say 0.2f. What you can say? You can say only 0.2f. And now when you run, the decimal will only be 2 digits. Okay. And now if you want to add 5.5 years, so you can say percentage 2f, and then after that you can give years over here. And if you want to give over here percentage, if you want to give percentage over, so you can say like this percent. So whatever is there in the double quotes will be printed, and these are placeholders like this. Percentage did not come. I guess it is percentage. It is expected that we. Let's check with this. Percentage is expecting something of any of this nature, I guess. Okay. You can give it twice. So like this you can do a basic simple program. Understood the flow? So why these are called variables? Because now if I change the value, so I'll get new calculations, correct? So that's why it is called as the value in then keeps on changing. So okay, now if I do this over here, I display it, then I again copy and again I paste it. So now I can, in the same program, I can have now if I run this, okay. So in the same program you have got two different principles, two different number of years. Yeah. Because then if I add a const before it, if I add what? Const keyword. Which keyword? Then this becomes a constant. Then you cannot change the value of const. So once you declare a const, then you cannot change that value. That becomes a constant. So if I have now, let's say I have put a const over here, right? So while giving the constant, I have to give the value also. So now if I say value equals to 9,000, and now if I run this code, it will throw error at this line. constant at 8000. So I'm trying to change a constant value, right? So now if I do a run, it will throw error at C, line number 10, and it will also throw me error at line number 22 also. So it will show me 10 and 22. Okay, that you're trying to modify a constant value. So constant value cannot be modified, it has to be the same. So I have to comment this out. So either I delete it or I comment it. So I say now, okay, I'm deleting this line and I'm deleting line number 10 also. Now my program will work fine. So now once I declare it as a constant, means it cannot be changed the program. It will be same throughout. So the variable can change but constant cannot change. While declaring the constant, you prefix it with the const keyword and you give the value of the const there and then itself. Okay, are you getting this? Now try your basic programs of, okay, if I were to do area of a rectangle, how would you do that? What all things would you require? I'll just share this code to you on the chat, that the code you have. Now if I want you to do area of a rectangle, so what all things will you, what all variables will you declare and what all calculations will you do? Can you help me with that? Yes. Okay, so we joined to a laptop or mobile? So if I ask you to share a screen, can you do this code for me? Yeah, so please share a screen. So parallelly we'll do coding from your end also. Yeah, do notepad. Yeah, the variable name will change. Yes, correct. Variable names will change. Yes, correct. Instead of number of years, equal interest, we will give appropriate variable names. ठीक है, alright, इंशाल्लाह शाम में मैं जाऊंगा ऑफिस में जाऊंगा से बात करते हैं, तो सिक्योरिटी वगैरह रहते हैं उनसे बात कर लेते हैं, जैसा भी होता है वीकेंड की बात करते हैं, काम चल रहा है अभी क्लियर है जैसे बात घर पे मैं बात करता हूँ शाम में आए मेरे चिपा अराउंड 6:30 वैसा नहीं रहता, कल मॉर्निंग में मैं ट्राई करूँगा, मॉर्निंग में जैसा भी होता है या तो डायरेक्टली yeah, and now calculate the area. Yes. Yeah, the spelling of length on line number 4 and line number 3 is not the same. Yeah, so length, yes. And now, yeah, just you can say length. Mm, yes, yes, you can put centimeter. Yes, you can put yes. No, you can put after the percentage of centimeter. So it will show the length of rectangle is 9 centimeter. Whatever is the double quotes will be displayed. Yeah. Whatever is the double quotes will be displayed, and after The comma you can give the placeholder, the variable which will substitute for percentage %f. Yes, correct. And you can give percentage %2 also if you want that the answer to be only 2 decimals. Yeah. No, just centimeter. Yeah, you can say that. Will be area. Yeah, correct. Yeah. Yeah. Now copy this. Control A and copy this and open a browser. Control A, Control C. Open a browser. Share the screen. Share entire screen. Yeah, just paste this. Control A, paste it. Yeah, now try running it. Now try running this. Okay, then variable name isn't matching. Perfect. Okay. Excellent. Okay. What? Yeah, two, not point 2f. Mhm. Yes, yes. Yeah. Okay, top also you can change. Perfect. So now I'll give some assignments of such nature. Try to solve them. Okay. Then tomorrow we will progress with it and try to go deeper. Okay. I mean, will go much more deeper. Okay.